welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to do kind of like a quick car chat while I am on break from my homeschool conference. So this is day 2 of the homeschool conference that I'm attending. It's called Out of the Box, and it is part of, or well, it's been put together by the El Paso Homeschool Association. So yesterday I did, let's see, I think it was like 4 workshops, and then at the beginning there was a keynote speaker. And today I've done, let's see, 2 workshops and a guest speaker, and then after a break here I've got 2 more workshops and then the closing speaker. So I've actually gained a lot of really interesting knowledge, not knowledge I was expecting to bring away from this conference, but good stuff nevertheless. So obviously I am in, let's see, getting ready to start year, what would this be? Upcoming year will be year 4 of my homeschooling journey. And so when it comes to curriculum and things like that, I do appreciate you know, helpful hints and tips and suggestions and feedback and reviews and all of that. But what I really was going to this conference for was more to be filled. I know that sometimes as homeschool moms, we tend to give ourselves, which is fine. We give ourselves as teachers, and we give ourselves as mothers and as spouses if you're, you know, if you're married or in a relationship or what have you. And sometimes we get empty, and we need to be filled back up. And so that was really my intention of coming to this conference this weekend, was to really kind of be filled and find that motivation again, to find the joy in just in homeschooling, but also being a parent to my children. And so I just wanted to share a couple things that I have learned so far. And they're things where if you were to think about it, you would say, well, yeah, that's kind of, you know, kind of, not really a duh thing, but common knowledge. But sometimes these common knowledge things, we tend to either look over or we don't really ponder them enough for it to sink in and apply it to our lives. So the first thing that I learned was that, you know, we have this doubt sometimes as parents and homeschool moms where we start to doubt ourselves. And I'm a Christian, and so, you know, I believe in Jesus and God, and, you know, those are very important things to me. And one of the things that really stood out on one of my first workshops was when you start to doubt things, you're basically telling God that he can't do something. And not to say that we don't have questions about things, but when we start doubting our abilities, you know, if it's something that God has called us to do, if God's called me to homeschool my children, then through him I'm going to be able to do that. You know, we can't do things on our own, obviously, but we have to put our faith and trust in God and follow him. And so, you know, we don't want to fear things or worry or have doubt, because then we're kind of telling God that we don't believe he can do those things. And that usually happens when we try to do stuff on our own and not let God work in our lives. So that was kind of a really helpful thing. And I've got a lot of notes that I'm going to kind of pour over and ponder later on. Another, let me think, I'm trying to think of the workshops here. Another thing that I took away yesterday was it was a great workshop on building empathy in families. And you know, this is one I've been really struggling with, because it's something I want my children to learn, but I realize I'm not being a very good example of empathy to them, and they're not going to learn it if they're seeing something different from me. And the takeaway I learned from that lesson, or a few of the takeaways, was that sorry, people are walking by. I'm like, they're gonna think I'm nuts talking to myself. But one of the things I took away was that empathy, how do I say this? Okay, so when somebody is going through something, they don't necessarily need a response from you. They don't need you to fix it. They don't need some feel-good saying from you. They need connection. And so that means sharing their emotion with them, getting down to where they are and just being with them, letting them know there's someone who knows what they're going through and is willing to share their experience with them. And that, that obviously applies to our children as well. When they're going through things, we need to let them know that we see them, we see what they're going through, and that, we're going to share in that emotion, validate that feeling. Because we don't want to just say, oh, well, I'm sorry you're sad, but let's just move on. That's not fair to do that. We wouldn't want somebody to do that to us. And also, it's important for us to know what our children are going through. We need to be invested in their inner lives. And so we need to be communicating with them and knowing what is going on with them in their lives, and what they may be struggling with, or even not even in the bad kind of emotions, but maybe what they're celebrating in their life or what they're excited about. When you share these emotions with your children and with other people that you're friends with, or family, or loved ones, what have you, you create these connections, and you build these bridges of trust, and this open communication. And when people feel valued and trusted and cared about, that leads them to have better self-esteem, or just better relationships. And so that's kind of what a lot of that talk was about, relationships and building the relationships within your family and all of that. And how, as parents, we've been given these children, and really our job is to show our children the nature of God. We've been given this chance to kind of, we're being a parent the way that God is a parent. And so we want to kind of mirror our behavior after Him, and so that we can show our children what God's character is. If we show them frustration and anger and, humiliation, those kinds of things, they're going to pull away from us, but they're also going to pull away from God, because why would they want a parent if that's what a parent is? So that was a really good workshop. And then this last one that I went to was called Be Angry and Train Your Kids. And it was definitely one I wanted to go to, because anger has been one I've always struggled with. It's just something that's kind of been passed down to me through my family. And I really want to stop this kind of cycle here where I am at my family. I don't want my children to be angry parents either, or just angry adults. And so it was really interesting to learn about how when we get angry, we can use that as a way to learn and to grow. We can be angry, but we need to stop the progression before we sin, which sin can be anything, yelling or screaming, or spanking. If you're doing it out of anger, we're not going to get into whether spanking is good or bad in this conversation. But obviously anger, if you let it grow, things are going to get out of hand and ugly. And how if you stop, if as soon as you get angry, you stop what you're doing and you take time to pray to kind of keep your hands busy and kind of find a quiet time with God, still your heart, and then respond to the situation. I remember, I don't even remember where I heard it. I just remember the saying that when it comes to anger, you don't want to react. You want to respond. It's kind of like medication. When you take medication, you don't want to react to your medication. That's a bad thing. You want to respond to the medication. And so that's how we should be. We should want to respond to our child's behavior, not react to it. And also, when we are disciplining our children, because discipline isn't bad, we want to make sure that we are not disciplining out of anger, and that we want, we discipline obviously when our children aren't obedient, but we need to worry not just if our children are being obedient and if they're behaving, but we want to worry or care about their internal motivation for that obedience. If they're only being obedient because you're threatening them, that's not what you want. You want them to have a certain type of internal motivation for this obedience. Are they doing it because it's something that God wants them to do, because this is, a character quality that they want to have in their lives, to be a part of them? And the same thing with anger. We need to focus not on complimenting our children on their worldly achievements, but more complimenting them on their godly character. So if my child picks up their toys, yes, it's important, or not necessarily important, but yes, it's okay to say, I'm really, really happy that you picked up those toys, but then take it a step further. Say, because that shows that you're honoring me by obeying me, and that's something that God has called us to do. That shows me that you're being responsible and picking up your toys. That shows me that you're listening and paying attention, and those kinds of things. And so that's just a little bit of what I have been learning. And the last quick thing was a workshop on curriculum and community. And so the one thing I wanted to say about this real quick is that I've been seeing a lot of, and it's more in the comments really than the videos, but I've been seeing a lot of kind of negative things on people's YouTube channels where they may post a review of a curriculum and they may not necessarily have enjoyed it, and then people get on there and will start bashing them either because they didn't like it or because they did like it. And here's the thing I want to say about that. Curriculum is just that. It's curriculum. As parents, we're able to design our curriculum around our children and their needs. So just because you choose a curriculum doesn't mean that you're going to use it word for word. We all take things and modify them. And also, we choose curriculum based on our child's needs. What does our child need? No child is the same. You may have 4 children and they may all have a different reading curriculum because that's who they are, and it's okay. It is absolutely okay. If somebody used a curriculum, say, for instance, for me, I'm using the Good and the Beautiful Language Arts, and I came from Logic of English and All About Reading. That doesn't mean those curriculums are bad curriculums. They just didn't work for my child, and that's fine. They are great curriculums. The people that have published those have done serious research and put time and effort into making those, and that's awesome. They just didn't work for us, and the Good and the Beautiful is working for us. Now, I don't use it like word for word exactly how it's laid out. I modify it a little bit just to make it to what it needs to be for my child. That may mean we skip a lesson here or there. We may not focus on the poetry as heavily as they do in the book, and that's fine because I know what my child needs, and that's what I want to do. And so and we start arguing over curriculum and whether or not using a certain curriculum makes you a bad homeschool parent. Like, that's just ridiculous. Like, we're choosing to homeschool our children because we want what's best for our child. And so that doesn't mean that we're picking, purposely picking a curriculum that we think's, a bad curriculum. I don't really believe that there is a bad curriculum. Like I said, the people that create these curriculums put so much time and effort into them and research. They're not doing that because they want to harm anybody. There are lots of curriculums that maybe have beliefs that are different than yours, and that's fine because the whole world is full of people with different beliefs, but you work with what works for you and your family and your child. And so that's kind of the big, I guess, idea or point that I took from that workshop. And I'm getting ready to go back into a workshop about lesson planning, and then one on visual literacy, and then the last one, I cannot remember what the keynote speaker is speaking about, but our keynote speaker is Andrew Pudewa. I think that's how you pronounce his last name, but he's the creator of the Institute for Excellence in Writing, and so I thought that was really neat. I've seen his stuff, and but yeah, I'm having a really good time, and I highly suggest, if you have the chance to go to a homeschool conference, to check it out, even look into it. If there's something that you think may really speak to your heart or fill you up in a way that you need, do it if you can, because it is just so nice to kind of take care of ourselves as parents too. Remember that, we can't help our children and take care of them and fill them if we're empty, as well. So anyway, I hope you guys all have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you back again when I have another video. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, post them in the comment box below. If you haven't subscribed, hit that little subscribe button. But thanks for watching. I'll see you all later. Bye.